uncomfortable about that, please turn off your video. And now I want to throw this to Becca, our lead autism specialist.
All right. Well, I think there's more people joining as we speak. It seems that there are some people here, and we're giving everybody a chance to jump in, and certainly we're expecting more people, so we might be repetitive in the very beginning. But it's such a pleasure to see all your wonderful faces again, and we miss you so much. And you sent in excellent questions, and we're excited to hear the responses from Nicholas and James. And we hope to get to them all because they were wonderful questions. And we look forward obviously to seeing you in person again soon. And until then, we're happy that we have this space to connect with our wonderful Harry Potter team. It was such a special experience to share that day with you and the audience and everybody. And we look forward to doing it again. And so this is a wonderful way to celebrate that experience and continue with you. There's a few more people coming in, I think. Christina, will you let us know? Ooh, here's more. Yay.
I'm going to continue to let people in as they come.
Okay, great. All right. So Lisa, are you comfortable with our starting now? Okay, brilliant.
Get to the questions. They're wonderful questions.
Questions. We're excited. Let's see. Nicholas or James, would you like to start? Or would you like me to ask you a question? How would you like to start off? Okay.
Oh, why don't you do it? I mean, I could, why don't you just ask away?
Okay, I will ask away. So, Nicholas, we have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you a Slytherin like Albus? And what would you like most?
Oh, okay. I wish I was a Slytherin like Albus because I adore Slytherin House. All of my best friends throughout my life have been Slytherins, and I don't know how that worked out, but all of them have been Slytherins. However, when I was 11 years old, I took the original Harry Potter test, like the original one when the books were still coming out, and I got Gryffindor. So then I decided to take it again. I got Gryffindor again. And then I took a test when I was in college that gave me a percentage of what house I was, and I got 95% Gryffindor. So I am pretty Gryffindor. And I was very proud of that. And then I was part of Cursed Child, and I met Scorpius, and I said, well, now I really want to be a Slytherin. So that's too bad. I wish I was a Slytherin, though. So if any of you are Slytherins, I adore you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, James, when were you first introduced to Harry Potter? When did you first, I guess, come across the book, the character, and they want to know if you're a Potterhead, if you have a favorite book, which movie is your favorite. So please tell us more about your Harry Potter experience.
To follow up with Nicholas, so I got sorted when the Pottermore test first came out. I was a Slytherin, and then I was a Slytherin, full on, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm a Slytherin. That kind of makes sense. And then when they redid the test, I had to retake it. Once I joined the cast, I hadn't been on Pottermore in forever, and they were like, you haven't been on in so long, you have to retake the test. And I got sorted into Gryffindor. But since I was playing Harry Potter, I was like, well, maybe I'll just stick with what the thing says now. But I will say, I am a Potterin with a Gryffindor with Slytherin Rising. I don't know, whatever you call it. And I was in college, late high school when the books came out, and then when I got into college, or maybe I was in college when the books came out, and I remember being like, what is this? I don't know. My girlfriend was reading them, and she was like, no, you trust me, you have to read these. And so I was like, fine. And I whipped through the first three in because I think I started reading when the third one had just come out, and it took me I didn't put them down basically. And then I got through the fourth book, and then was like, I graduated college, and I was like, I think I'm good, because I had started watching the movies, and I was like, just wait for the movies to come out. It'll be fine. And I was sort of in my own world at that point. I really like worlds. So Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. When someone gives me like a big universe to play in that has all of these cool, fun characters and backstories, like it's always the most fun for me to go and be like, well, how is this person related to, like, what is Darth Vader? Like for me, it's like, what crystal did Darth Vader use in his lightsaber? Like a red Deegan crystal. Like I was like, how did they make that? And what's that technology? And then like, what is the journey that he had to go on to find that crystal? And then like, why, like just goofy things like that I'll just let my curiosity take me. And so anytime you have a world that's like, well, what spell would work the best for this? Oh, let me look up what spells. Well, only X were ever said out loud. Okay, but then what other spells could there be? And then that's sort of it. And so it's a very purpose-based curiosity, like wherever my brain kind of takes me. But when you have that big of a universe, it can take you anywhere. And so if I'm a Potterhead, I don't know if I would consider myself like a hardcore Potterhead, but I've certainly gone down very deep holes into the wizarding world and had a very fun time doing it.
Excellent. And then James, I guess this question is for both James and for Nicholas, but Nicholas, I guess first, do you find yourself similar to your character?
Yes, very much so. And I didn't when I first read the script, when I first read Albus, because on the page he comes off as pretty sullen and a bit dark. Like he gets very angry, very stressed out, very easily. Mm-hmm. And then, so I didn't want to associate myself with that. I wanted to say, no, I'm very cheerful. I'm the most cheerful person I know. I'll be cheerful all day. But the more I looked into him and the more I started performing as him, I realized that this guy is actually just chock full of love. He loves everyone and wants to say it in any type of vocabulary he has, and he just doesn't have the words. And so I knew that frustration, that kind of frustration of it's as though you're like locked in a room with your dad and you're both trying to say I love you at the same volume, and eventually you're going to clash. And so I really resonated with that, with my experiences with my parents. I know what that kind of frustration feels like. And when you put like if you were to have given me a wand when I was 14 years old, I would have absolutely done exactly what Albus did, which is not good news for me. But when you take that angst, when you take that frustration and that stress and then put magic into it, I very much resonate with the character and his decisions and his mistakes. So yes.
And what about you, James?
Yeah, very much so. In fact, the second I read it, I was like, yeah, I get this. Harry Potter, as an adult, for me, he's a dad. He's a fixer. Like I always try and make things okay for everybody. And then also for me, my biggest journey still, what I think this show has to teach me is it's a lot about specific love they talk about. I'm a person who loves very generally, and everybody's great, and everything's cool. And Harry's biggest journey is to learn what specific love looks like, something that he never really got, mostly because of his terrible upbringing. But that, for me, that journey and whatever that means, to actually see somebody and take the time to listen to them is something that I'm hoping I've been trying to embody. And that journey I very much identify with. And I think for me, that's the biggest learning lesson that I'm trying to get, and the learning lesson that I'm trying to teach as I'm going through this story. I think theater is an opportunity for us to try and be as human as possible so that someone can identify with that and then bring that into their own life. And for me, I think that distinction of specific love and loving someone on their terms as opposed to yours is a very important distinction.
James, we have to ask you too, is it hard to play such a well-known character? And and did you take inspiration from the books and the movies, or how did you separate yourself from that when you were exploring the character?
I always say the hardest part of the character is doing a Daniel Radcliffe impression for 5 hours. And so, no, I'm absolutely kidding. I don't do that. I haven't seen the movies since they first came out. Luckily, Harry Potter's a grown-up now. We don't really know who Harry Potter is as a grown-up. So for me, it was a joy to get to read the books from that much more of a personal experience, and very moving. You know, things like when Dobby dies and stuff. It was very personal for me, and so that made it that much more special. And then, really, at the end of the day, just getting out of the way. And as an actor, one just wants to let the words do the work, and we work with the directors to shape the character and who it is and bring as much of me as possible. But really, at the end of the day, if I bring less ego and more of the words and the intention of what we've agreed on, then Harry Potter kind of comes out. And it's a beautiful thing on stage. If I say I'm a potato, people are like, great, you're a potato. What's the potato doing right now? And we can move on. And luckily, the audience is there to engage and use their imaginations as much as we are. And so I'm super lucky that the audience is always ready to listen and go on the journey with us.
Mm-hmm. Nicholas, how do you remember all of your lines for both parts of the play?
Oh boy. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't know how I know all of those lines, because there would always be a moment. I come on stage with, no, not with my trolley. Ginny's bringing on my trolley, but I come on stage, run out, say the first line of Daddy Keeps Saying It. And right before I do that, and I did that, we do that show 4 times a week. So this moment happened every time. Right before I went out on stage, a little part of my chest would open up and I'd say, I don't know any of my lines. This is so scary. And I would run out with kind of a blank brain, see James. And you know what the coolest moment I think ever was every night was seeing James turn around with a scar and glasses and just go, I'm on stage with Harry Potter. That's so cool. But the wonderful thing is that doing it so many times and with such an incredible team that we rehearsed with and the cast I was surrounded with, it felt as though I had to do no work at all to remember my lines, right? Because the people who are speaking to you, all you want to do is respond to them. And luckily, we had done it so many times that the muscle memory that the thing I wanted to respond back to them happened to be the right words and in an English accent. So that was both very convenient. Yeah.
Excellent. And James, and Nicholas, are you also a Potterhead?
Huge, absolutely. I've been a Potterhead since I was 6 years old. My mom would read me to sleep with the books, which actually didn't work because I was so intrigued with the books that I didn't end up going to sleep. So, but she would read them, and she's English, so she would do all of the accents and everything. And so now I feel as though I'm doing an impression of my mom's impression of Harry Potter. Yeah.
Wow. And James, what is your favorite scene in the play?
The last scene. It really truly is. It's the greatest. It was also the last one and the hardest to memorize in a weird way, but it's been, it's a long journey that Harry goes through, and I'm a sucker for beautiful endings. And it really just gets to the heart of the whole journey, and it's the most satisfying for me. And it's just a joy. It really is. It's just it was a joy every single night. So.
Nice. And Nicholas, sort of similar question. What was your favorite part to perform during the play?
I would say acting-wise, as far as my character development goes, the last scene I have with Scorpius and the last scene I have with Harry, because those scenes are, and you know what? There's a scene with Ginny in the church. I think those 3 were my favorite to act, because that's the moment when I think really Albus gets to, I mean, he's been holding this weight on his shoulders the entire play, and you know, he's determined to just keep that weight. And finally he just lets them fall and just collapses. And that is such a beautiful thing, not only for him, but also for me, because I've been sweating and running the entire show. And so to just get to stand on stage and cry for a second is quite nice, quite a little bit of a relief. But I think my favorite trick to perform is, do you guys remember the moment when Scorpius and I swim on stage, when the huge circle is on stage and we both come swimming in, and then I do a backflip? So the backflip was my favorite part to perform because it was the absolute most terrifying. It was so scary. And every night after I completed the backflip and I landed it, I would say, I've done it. The rest of the show is a breeze. Terrific. Now I can totally relax. So that was always my favorite part, is after having gotten around the backflip, then I would be done. However, it didn't work every night. And there would be some nights where things would go terribly wrong. Thankfully, you guys didn't see one of those nights. So that's good.
But you all survived. It worked. Okay.
No one was in like actual danger. It was just a tiny bit scary for a human being to be suspended at 40 feet above the ground and turn yourself upside down. Ugh, not natural.
Well, we're glad you're okay. James, the question to you, next question is to you, and is similar to a previous question. How do you remember all your lines for both parts of the play?
I always, whenever anyone asks, well, there's the funny answer, which is it's not the lines that are hard, it's the facial expressions. It's really facial expressions. My mentor always says, I forget who was like F. Murray Abraham or something like that, but it's like you guys know your own phone number for the most part. So it's one of those things where it's like you just know your phone number. And so just multiply that times 5 hours, and then like it just happens. No, but when we rehearse, it took 15 weeks of rehearsal to get to the point where we performed for human beings. And I knew 3 months before we started rehearsals. So I would walk my dog and try and learn the lines. And then we would take everything little piece by little piece. And then as an actor, you want to know what you're doing in each scene and what you're trying to accomplish. And so I always felt like if I was really just trying to get done what I was getting done and listening and responding, the lines would happen because the work's been done. So it's not like I sat down and I quickly memorized it. It was, we worked very, very hard on all of it to make sure that it was within us and it was ingrained, just like our own name or our phone number or, and so was it Meryl Streep always, or Glenn Close would always say, I don't learn lines, I don't memorize lines, I learn them by heart. And so it really just took a long time to learn it by heart.
Nice. Nicholas, was it hard to learn how to do the magic, such as the fire from the wands or going into the phone booth?
Yes, it was, I was so excited to become a wizard. That was the fun part, was learning that I was going to be a wizard. Finally, that had been my dream forever. The hard part was learning how to do it. I remember the first day of rehearsal, I knew I was going to have the best year of my life when the first day of rehearsal, we all stood in a circle, and the guy who taught us how to be wizards said, we're all going to clap our hands, and once we clap our hands, we are all immediately magical. And so we went, and you could just feel that everyone believed in it for a second. And that's all it takes, right? Is when you're reading the books or watching the movies or seeing the play, all you have to do is just allow yourself to believe that magic is happening. And that makes the difference, all the difference in the world between how did they do that trick as opposed to, oh no, it's really magic. And so I found my performances that were the easiest were when I wasn't focusing on any kind of technical stuff or whatever, but was just focusing on the fact that I was a wizard and I was going to light this piece of paper on fire, or I was going to, teleport to a different part of the stage. That was just what was going to happen this night. And it felt well, it felt really natural because I've been practicing for that moment since I was 6 years old, and so that was nice. But I mean, the rehearsal process really helped. It wasn't easy, but the people who were in charge of everything, we had history of magic classes during rehearsal where we would talk about the books and like history of Harry Potter. We had house cups at the end of every week where the director would give each of the 4 houses points depending on if people were to answer a question right or were to remember their blocking or something like that, and they would give the houses points, and so at the end we would all get cupcakes if we were in Gryffindor house or if we were in Ravenclaw house. It was the best.
That's great. Now, this question is for both of you. If you were going to Hogwarts today, what animal would you bring with you to Hogwarts?
It's not one of the student regulated animals, but I would definitely bring a pygmy puff. The pygmy puffs were the little tiny pink fuzzy animals that were super round and plush, and Ginny had one named Arnold, and I've always wanted a pygmy puff for me.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I guess I would stick with an owl. Absolute, like, I love owls. My grandparents had a barn owl that lived in the oak tree on their back deck, so we would go and just hang out in the evening and she had babies and stuff. Like, so I've always like loved owls, and I would hope a barn owl actually, just because although I don't, do they have barn owls in England? Like, I don't know. I think it's a very American, or at least where I'm from, like in Northern California, it's always barn owls. And so yeah, that definitely not that.
Now, we have a quick question. Are there lifeguards on standby for the water scenes?
Kind of. They're not lifeguards, they're stage managers. So the way this entire play runs and works is not because of us, but it's because of the people who are backstage that you never see. But they are the real wizards of this show, because they are calling all of the cues and making everything seem so seamless. And so when I am underwater, there is a stage manager who has eyes on me. So if anything goes wrong, they can help out, cancel the cue, whatever. As far as being in the water, it's just me and Scorpius. So no one else in there, which, you know, I mean, if you want to know if Bubba and I are close, underwater cuddling for about 5 minutes kind of makes you close.
Well, that relates to the next question for both of you, which is actually going to be our final question, which is, are the actors who are on stage are friends, also friends off stage? So just checking in about your relationships with your actor friends off and on stage.
Any theater experience like that's so intimate, it is like a family. It really is. And there's dynamics that live within that. There's 39 actors in the show, plus all of the stage managers, plus all the crew people. And so yeah, this will be the longest I've ever worked on a show once we start up again. Mm-hmm. Almost a little bit into the run will be the longest I've ever worked with a single group of people, but or on a specific show. And so yeah, I mean, I love everybody. It's like I miss Nicholas. Like I'm in awe of everything that he does. Like, you know, and there's just that mutual respect, and luckily it was a cast that fostered that, and particularly now, given the political and social climate right now, it's an opportunity for us to hear our family members and be there for them in the way that they need us to be or are asking us to be. And so and even the people who were in the cast that aren't continuing on to year 3 are as still a part of that family. Once you've gone to Hogwarts and graduate from Hogwarts, you're always a member of Hogwarts. Or alumni. You know, we will always share that for the rest of our lives. Nicholas and I, when we see each other, will have experienced something that's not that there. It's its own hug, and every show that I have or whatever has its own thing and special memories. And so I'm forever grateful for every single person I've ever got to be on stage.
Yeah. One of the castmates just recently was talking to all of us, had an opportunity to talk to the entire cast, and he said, you aren't some of the best people I've ever worked with, you are the best people I've ever worked with. And I know what that feels like, because I anticipated coming into Harry Potter that the type of people that this show would attract would be the kindest people. And I was right. So, haha. Bubba, James, Diane, Kevin, Jonathan, Catherine, Sarita, all these people, even the people who at the beginning of the show, do you remember in the beginning 20 minutes where everyone's bullying me and everyone's saying, haha, he's such a loser, you can't do magic, nah, 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 nah. Those are some of my best friends saying that. And so it was just terrific to always go on stage and be able to trust each other, and then go off stage and say, do you guys want to go out tonight and just, you know, celebrate what we're doing? Which is rare. You know, a lot of the time, I just felt so lucky that I went to work every day and laughed the hardest I had yet. And the next day I would laugh harder, because the people around me were just so loving and a family. So yes, we're all very good friends.
Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to hear. And I'm sure it supports the success of the show, and we certainly felt it in the audience. I just want to say thank you to all of the audience members who came. You are our TDF community, and we are so grateful that you've come to share this afternoon with us and that you shared the Harry Potter experience with us. And we look forward to seeing you in person and celebrating shows in the future together again. And thank you so much to Nicholas and James for sharing your time and your energy and your thoughtful responses. Thank you for sending in these great questions. And thank you to everybody who's here from TDF. We look forward to making beautiful memories with you again in the future. And I'm going to turn this over to Lisa Carling now. Sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you there, Lisa, but wait 1 sec. We're going to make sure you're unmuted, Lisa. Hold on. There we go.
I am here.
There we go. We can hear you.
Again, I can only reiterate what Becca said. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, James and Nicholas. This is the talkback we never had, and we had it, and it helps sort of bridge that gap from March 1st to where we are now, and helps us feel more of a community, which is something we need very much now. So anyway, thank you all. Miss you all. Look forward to being back together in person someday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.